All right, let me check this out and then see what I can do. Let me put this right here. Look at this here. Turn it a little bit. No, it's terrible. All right, what else we got? Sweet, interesting. Um, so yeah, uh, I guess a lot has happened since the last time I was here. Um, yeah, well, Pedro. Um, what am I? Who am I? I don't know. Um, I guess the description right here at the bottom is pretty apt for figuring that sort of stuff out. Um, I don't know what I do. I wanted to be an engineer. You know, I went to college. I did the whole thing. But I've had like a perpetual issue where like I never really like figured out what I wanted to do necessarily. Like I always had an idea and I'm always like planning and stuff, but like again, I feel like I'm consistently my own worst enemy. Um, and yeah, I mean, it gets the better of me, right? It I I don't know. I feel like I've never really wanted to do anything in particular. I've always kind of like done what's easy for me, and unfortunately, I'm really smart. Um, which like obviously it's like annoying to say, right? It's like I have this like lottery ticket, um, and I just don't use it. Um, obviously, like it's very demoralizing. I'm 28 years old now. I was born in 1996, and I've basically done nothing with my life until now. I try to make people happy. Um, I like make an excuse that like I just want to be with my family or whatever. But the truth is, I like lack um, discipline, probably. I try, like, but there really ultimately is only so much that I've ever really put my mind to. As of late, I've like taken more steps. Maybe in the last year, taking more steps towards being accountable towards myself, whether that be um, trying out a new business with my dad, or being consistent about being in the gym, or after my life kind of got turned upside down, I yeah, my life got turned upside down, and I kind of went all in on like some things. I did a coding boot camp. Um, I learned a ton. They're extremely valuable, and I got pretty good at using technologies like React and stuff. And now I feel pretty comfortable learning any type of programming languages. I'm in the process of trying to make a game with my friends. One of my friends being, majoring in video game design and stuff. Um, yeah, and he's a great friend of mine. He's a good guy. He suffers from a lot of the same things I do. Like inability to focus or something, and maybe it's an addiction with like video games and stuff like that. Um, I've never really known. I've done a lot to physically improve myself. I mean, and obviously I'll like probably chop this up together and yeah, maybe put some clips, or maybe I can do one of these. You see, like that sort of thing is like really indicative. Like I have sprint qualifying up for the Belgian Grand Prix, and like I really should be trying to like make a living now that I'm stuck in this house. But we'll get to like what and why and where. Um, but yeah, we'll go through what I looked like and stuff like that. But first, yeah, let me finish. Yeah, I just I'll be chronicling every day, kind of like my mental state and my plans and like how much I've accomplished within the day. Um, More as like so that I can watch it, but yeah, I mean, there's always obviously like whenever you upload something like this, whenever you upload to Instagram, there's always like that hope that like you like have a target audience, and it's not just you. It's like you put something on the internet for everyone to see, and I mean that's ultimately like what you want from these sorts of situations. You want like everyone to see it, right? Like how many times have I like tried? Like you guys can go to some of my last videos and you'll see basically like what it is that I've tried to do. I mean, what in like 2018, I did like a similar video to this, chopped it up in that sort of like talking head style video that has come to be more or less popular and like gone by the wayside, and now it's like the format for streamers. But you know, I feel like people ultimately do like this sort of unfiltered, unedited. I don't know. I just don't feel like chopping something together. It's another obstacle, for me at least. Knowing how I am, I mean, this is ultimately probably the best way for me to think about doing something like this. Um, but yeah, I'll be chronicling my life here, maybe doing a little bit of like vlog streaming, building some projects and stuff like that, and seeing if I can't like figure stuff out. Some context since that last video, I moved back up to Orlando. Um, and I mean, since then I'm back in Pembroke Pines in South Florida, but I moved up again to try to finish school. It was really hard to save money and pay for classes. Um, I've been on academic probation at UCF since my first semester in college. I like messed up pretty bad and flipped my car um, into a river with my ex-girlfriend's sister. She broke her hand, and I mean, luckily they didn't ever blame me really for it. They tried to, but these girls had my back, and they've always been like great friends to me. And I love them a lot. I love them like sisters, and they were some of my best friends for years until um, that girlfriend and I broke up. And then, ultimately that whole friend group kind of went by the wayside, except for the ones that were ultimately my friends. And yeah, um, yeah. So since that last video, I tried to build a project car. I'll see if I can't get some of the footage, piece it together. I bought a 1984 Porsche 944, and it was really cool. I ended up taking out the engine, and that was the first time I had ever taken an engine out of a car. And I did it with one of my best friends, Alejandro Martin. Um, and basically, it was a bunch of footage of us getting drunk. It was really funny. Um, and it was a blast. It was a really good time, and luckily, things like that I was able to do because my family's so good to each other, and my sister let me move back into her house when Mickey and I broke up. Mickey is that ex-girlfriend that I was talking about, and yeah, so I came down. I got a job through like at a law office with one of my mom's best friends. She's like an accountant or something there, or some nonsense. But effectively, I did some sort of data entry and paralegal work um, over there, and it was really cool. I like made them a really sick Excel document, like, and automated a lot of their interest finding um, for I forget what they're called, but they're like demand letters and stuff, and for violations in HOA communities. Um, and that job was fun, but extremely boring. Um, it was difficult to care about it. The people I worked with were great, obviously, and I like thank them every single day for giving me the opportunity. Because a lot of people that I worked with are still there, and that's their life, and they enjoyed doing things like that. And they understood something that I didn't at the time, which I still don't know, me personally, if that was like the right call or not, but they understood, for them at least, that consistent work, long, a lot of hours and like a lot of years put into a particular profession makes you pretty good at it. They're very adept to their environment, to the legal system. They like understand how a lot of those things work. And I mean, obviously, like I said before, I'm really smart, so I was able to kind of pretend to put myself in that sort of situation. But ultimately, those sorts of things were really difficult for me. Um, a lot of the things that I found most difficult about the job were talking to people on the phone. I don't know why, but I felt like I overshared a lot. I was responsible for a lot of people more than I care to admit losing their houses and stuff, and it didn't feel great. And that's ultimately always been my excuse for why I left. But honestly, like in my head, it seemed like a good idea to leave and go back to UCF, try to finish my degree in aerospace. Um, yeah, I mean, at the time, I had what I felt like had held me back a lot at the time was I got arrested that freshman semester after I flipped my car, during Christmas break, and then I was on like in this pretrial intervention program where I was on probation for a while, but it ultimately barred me from getting jobs, and I don't know if that's necessarily true, but in my head it affected me at least. It was like one of the big excuses I made for myself to not like apply myself at school and stuff. And that following semester I really did try. I can't think of the specifics for why I failed. um, I got reasonably good grades, but you had to maintain above a certain GPA for a semester. And I remember that I didn't achieve what I needed to, um, by like a grade. I missed my film studies final, a class that I had with Taco Fall. Um, Shout out Taco Fall, wherever you are. I think he's playing basketball in China now. But yeah, so I failed it, and then that was in 2016, the spring semester, and I stayed at UCF for you know another year and a half, trying to go to classes. Eventually, like maybe 2 3 semesters later, I think September 20 like 17, that fall 2017 semester, I was able to get back into classes at Valencia and get my financial aid situation sorted, under academic probation, um, where I don't know what's like why, but I just like felt like I was so far behind again that I decided to skip, calculus one, and I did all my prerequisites at that community college that I needed to do as an introductory student. But I decided to go straight to calculus two, and I feel like I could have succeeded, um, had I tried a little bit harder. But I will say it was some of the hardest work I've ever tried to do. It was some of the most studying I ever did. But even then, it was like, I would study the day before, the same day, or things like that. And like, granted, I was working every single day throughout that time, trying to make money and stuff. And yeah, I mean, ever since that second semester of college, I like basically had 1 to 2 jobs the whole time. But I don't know why I didn't just do calculus one, like why I was trying to skip steps, and like it's very indicative of the way that I am. Like I'm always trying to skip steps, thinking that I'm behind, and thinking that I can make that jump. And unfortunately, like I've had a lot of positive experiences skipping steps. Um, it's worked out in my favor plenty of times. But you know, I failed, and I don't remember what I got. I think I got a C or a D. The class was calculus 2 was super hard, especially you know not having taken a math class for at that point. When I took calculus 1 my junior year of high school, so that was the 2013-2014 school calendar year. And this was a whole 3 years later. Um, my Calculus 1 class, um, since I did get a 3 on that Calculus 1 AP exam, my freshman semester of UCF, I mean, I didn't go, right? Like, I was like, I totally lost the plot. Like, I decided that for whatever reason, I didn't really need to go to school to succeed in my classes, and I was just so wrong, and like I abused a lot of the trust that I had. My, you know, my brother was paying for my car, and I destroyed it, and there was like no real insurance situation, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't have a car, and you know, again, there goes like my girlfriend bailed me out. She sold her car, and we bought a car, and then another car. Um, and we loved these cars, and ultimately, like, that's what we could afford, and it was really cool, and it worked out at the time. Um, but yeah, I mean, it ultimately led to me and her breaking up, kind of, in so many ways. I mean, like, again, like, there was no progression for me. I was still that same 18, 19-year-old kid that like messed up a really good opportunity to go and do well in school. And she had, since the time that we were hanging out, she had graduated college and gotten her teaching certificates. And, me thinking that I could be greater, I like wanted to not really do like a particular career or anything. Like, it was just a strange situation. Like, I don't know why or what the situation was exactly, but I didn't want to, um, grow, I guess, and it made sense. I was much younger than her, and she ultimately, the next person that she dated, she married, she has kids with them, and like, it's I think for her it was a good thing, but I haven't spoken to her in a long time. Um, but yeah, that was the catalyst for me going back to Pembroke Pines, and now at that point, a year after her and I had split, and then a year into me having that law job, I decided I needed to go back. And I don't know what happened, but I didn't save any money. I wasn't paying any rent. I was paying my car insurance and my car note, and I think I made 4 times the amount that my like monthly bills were. So like it was very confusing, and and yeah, I mean, throughout at that time, a couple months after I had moved down to Pembroke Pines, I crashed my motorcycle, um, which was like stupid. Like, and I didn't follow up with the finance company, and they put a bunch of repossession orders out, and like I really could have just paid the note on the motorcycle because it was like $100. Um, and the insurance ended up paying it out, but I mean, like, I don't know. I was like very irresponsible with the way that my money worked, and I had like accumulated like debt, but I thought I had it covered. Um, I was like paying some of it off and using the cards and like thinking I was being responsible with how the money was working. But after that repossession order, a lot of my cards got canceled, and it affected the way my credit worked. And I don't know, like, I didn't save any money from then on either, and I moved back to Orlando, trying to get back into UCF, and yeah, I mean, I enrolled, and I was doing well, and I had this renewed focus um, to do well, but I couldn't get out of academic probation, and it ultimately didn't work out, and I was just there for that year, and change. Just dicking around mainly. I ended up getting a small payout, like $25,000 or whatever, for that accident. Um, I feel like I could have gotten more. Like, but whatever. You live and you learn. I mean, I just lived off of that money, and like let's see, like that was like the first time. Like I could have used that money to pay my way through the semesters that I had. Um, like enough semesters so that I can be out of academic probation. And I didn't. I don't like. I bought a TV instead. I just like hung out at my house and played video games, and then like, and I was working, and then COVID hit, and then I was collecting unemployment. But even that, like, you were supposed to every week check in, and you collect your weekly paycheck, and I was getting a ton of money from it. But even that, I didn't even check in every single week. Like I just felt like I didn't need to. I like carelessly like didn't use the tools in front of me, and I just let it go to waste again. And it didn't help that a lot of my friends had, at that point, it had been years. We started going to college in 2015, and a ton of my friends had graduated by that point and moved away. And it was like kind of a sad existence. It's like being in Orlando. Like, don't get me wrong, I had a wonderful time and I made great friends. And, I feel like I brought a lot of happiness to a lot of people's lives. And I worked very hard at the jobs that I had. But always I felt like I wasn't living to my potential, like I could have been doing more. Um, and yeah, I moved back down to South Florida again, at my sister's house. Um, I lived with her for like a month or two or three, um, after I canceled my lease, but I had already been staying over for months at that point. Um, just like living and paying for a cool apartment in downtown Orlando with like money from the government basically, and some of whatever that settlement that I got for that motorcycle accident in 2018. And yeah, I mean, I didn't feel super welcome this time around. I left. I moved in with my sister-in-law, kind of my brother's wife's little sister, and it was a lot of fun. And I lived with her for maybe 7 months, and it was very cool. And I spent that first summer at that new apartment working really hard, but I felt like I wasn't getting paid appropriately for what I was doing. And you know I like had built this cool crypto farm for some guy, uh, but again, like I think it was just indicative of like the way that I am, like not following through. I did the job, and I thought that that was enough, but I wasn't like trying to collect the money from these people. And then like I started doing this cool IT work, and IT consulting is what I called it because my friends were doing consulting, so I called it IT consulting. But I was doing this like IT work for a car wash, and the car wash works like a conveyor belt. So there's like an industrial control unit that controls the whole car wash, and it all works on IP addresses. And you know, it it was easy enough for me to figure out. It's like pretty complicated, but I like helped them out. I like fixed a ton of their connectivity issues and their network situation. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it like unfortunately wasn't really paying the bills, and I was still doing the crypto thing, and I was working with my friend Ashton at his company Aquaflight. He went on vacation with his girlfriend for 3 months in Europe, and it was me and his business partner, my friend Anthony, running the company, and I was driving the boat and doing these flyboard charters and stuff. And he paid me what he could. He gave me $300 a week, which he was always late on, but that was okay. But it wasn't enough to pay the rent necessarily. Um, I don't remember what we paid at that apartment. I recall me paying, I think, like $1,500. I think the rent was like 2,500. Um, I had this garage and stuff because I had all my things from Orlando. So I had all my tools in there and stuff. And, at that time, um, I like messed up my mom's car. Like she messed it up. She like bent her head and stuff and overheated the car, but I was able to fix it. And kind of, it took me way too long. I it's like it's like annoying, right? Because like this is the sort of thing, like a lot of the things that I've accomplished in like that are cool things that I've accomplished were realistically things I could have done in like a few, if I condense it and I like had optimized my time and stuff like that. I really could have done a lot of the things that I did over the last 10 years in like a month, maybe, um, but I didn't do anything. I feel um, I wasted so much time. Um, but yeah, I worked really hard with them. Eventually, they paid me. Um, and I was able to collect checks here and there from different odd jobs that I was doing. But I guess the main source of income was that car wash. Um, and yeah, I mean, in January, I was kind of behind on rent. Basically, I would like pay my rent and let my account go overdraft. Um, and I would like collect the money from my sister-in-law so that that like my bank wouldn't be as upset about the overdraft amount. So I'd be overdraft like a couple $100, and then eventually I'd be able to pay it back. But yeah, I was behind, and I was like trying to figure out what to do for work. And yeah, I mean, by that point, the boating and stuff, um, with my buddy Ashton, it had turned into me driving yachts in Miami. Being a quote unquote captain. And yeah, my friend Aaron, he he like lied to his the manager slash owner of the yachts in the program that he was working in. And he's like, yeah, my buddy Pedro, he's a great captain. Um, and luckily, like I had someone who was extremely talented teach me how to drive yachts or boats. And then Aaron taught me how to kind of more or less run a yacht and like what to do basically. And yeah, they let me take that Sea Ray 410 Express 2004 out with absolutely no yachting experience. I just had a maybe like couple 100 hours experience on like a 22-foot outboard boat. And yeah, I that's like ultimately what was paying the bills for me because this was the most money I had ever made by this point. They were paying $50 an hour. Um, they let me like come back in and clean stuff for a couple $100 here and there. And you know like if you break it down, it's only 40 hours of work was that was all I needed to, with that rate, to be able to pay all my bills in the month, right? And I didn't have a car note. I had this like shitty Silverado that I like luckily ran off of hopes and dreams, and it was extremely good at working and turning on and getting me from point A to point B, and it never had any problems. And I don't think I changed the oil since 2019 or 2020. And and then I had this motorcycle that I was uh, holding, I like was storing for my friend, but I had it fixed for like $800, and those two were my primary forms of transportation. And yeah, I was just boating, and then January 11th, 2023, I was leaving my house, and I got into like a crazy wreck on that motorcycle, and I remember remembering like to be chill and calm and cool, and like I called my sister immediately. Um, but it was like a head-on collision. Like the injuries were severe. I mean, like I don't really remember exactly how it was or anything, but I was wearing Crocs and no helmet, and I mean that's ultimately why I don't really remember anything, because I had this like pretty vicious brain bleed and hit my head super hard, and I tore my quad, and like my foot fell off a little bit, kind of. I'll, I'll put pictures or something. And yeah, I mean it was pretty funny. Like it's like could have been so much worse. After that, I like couldn't go into my apartment anymore. It was on the third story. I could barely move. I moved back into my sister's house 7 months later, and they took care of me, and it was great being with them again. And this time it was like a little bit different, because I didn't feel unwelcome this time. They were like, "No, you're gonna stay here, and it's gonna be good." And my mom took care of me, and my sister took care of me, and then my nephew and my niece would help me out. Um, and yeah, I mean, a couple months later, like my brother and my friends, they helped me. Well, they basically did all the work. They like moved all my stuff into storage, and yeah, I mean, like I'm always that guy. Like I'm always the guy that helps people move, and like to not be able to was it felt terrible. Um, like yeah, I mean, like again, it goes along with like my inability to finish things. Right? It's like I'm always like spread myself so thin, and it's not an excuse or anything. It's just like I don't even think I spread myself thin, because realistically, like I'm not biting off more than I can chew. I can do everything that I say that I will easily in the time that I have, but I just don't, because of whatever reason, one thing or another. Um, I don't want to blame it on like video game addiction or anything, because I don't really think that that's like something that's happening with me. But like ultimately, like even saying it, like I'm thinking like, oh yeah, let me hop on GTA Enhanced, or you know, like realistically right now I'd probably be playing FIFA like pro clubs or something, but I maxed out my character like a couple days ago, so I'm like controlling myself. Um, and yeah, I mean I was pretty messed up. 6 months after that, I you know obviously like it was this lady's fault. Like I was, I won't go into the specifics for like fear of like legal retribution or whatever, because I am kind of targetable right now. So like I don't even know if that case is public, but ultimately I did get a settlement, and they were able to get me like $115,000, and like that was 6 months later. And at that time, I had been working again on the yachts, like kind of. I wasn't really supposed to be walking, but I had made a promise to myself that I'd be in the gym every single day, and I was in the gym every single day, and I was listening to audiobooks, and I was, back on the yachts, and I had gotten a lot better. Um, a lot of people that I had worked with during my first stint working on the yachts, they really liked how much I took care of the boats, and I have some like mechanical experience, so I was able to like make sure things looked clean and check for oil leaks and stuff, which I like barely did, but I cleaned enough for people to notice and like people to care about the way that I cared about their boats. So ultimately they invited me back to their program, and yeah, I mean I still didn't get a license. I ended up completing the courses for my 100-ton license. I think like sometime in May this year, so 2025, so a couple years after that. But in 2023, I mean, I did a ton of work on the yachts. I still had that Silverado. Um, I don't even really know what I was doing for a car at that point. I didn't have anything used or anything, so I'm like pretty confused. Oh yeah. So I forgot. I bought an F-150, a nice blue one. It was really, really good. I was totally for spaced. It was a 2015, and I love that thing. And that was because someone started a Kickstarter for me, and enough people cared about me to get me like $9,000, and so I was able to pay my rent, and I bought that truck. And yeah, I was paying it. I was paying way too much. I was paying like 450 a month, and then like 350 for my insurance because again I'm irresponsible. Like I had a suspended license, and it's not from anything crazy. It was like probably from something dumb, and I never followed through with like even just doing something as simple as calling the ticket clinic and paying the ticket, right? My license was suspended for months, basically until September. Um, and in September of that year, I, you know, March to September, I got the truck in March, and I got yeah, I mean, I had to renew my license because they weren't going to renew my insurance, and they had raised my insurance rate and whatever, yada yada. But I followed through. It took me like, oh, I remember the situation. Okay, I'll get to it. It's kind of critical that I tell this in order. Um, well, I say this in order rather. I don't know. Sometimes, like, anyways. So I was working. I got that money, and the yachting season for whatever reason is slower in September. Whether that be hurricanes or the kids going back to school. From what I understand, like, well, I know a lot more now, obviously, because I've been doing it for years at this point. But yeah, like the Mediterranean season finishes. It's during the summer of the northern hemisphere, and then the Caribbean season starts like sometime in November, December, when the snowbirds come down, or when people decide that it's way too cold in Europe and way too cold in New England. Um, which the New England and the Mediterranean season usually kind of coincide because a lot of those places they're more summer city like places. So in September, it was decided that uh, you know I wanted to go to Europe, so I went. I went for like a month. I left in August, just after my mom's birthday, and I went to England. Um, it was super cool. I like my foot was still messed up, obviously, because it was. I'll just I'll make sure my Instagram's pulled up so I can be able to show these things as they come about. But um, let me put the scene. Yeah. So this is effectively what I looked like when I went to Europe, and I do have pictures, but this was my foot, right then, and kind of just looked like this, like a little fat, but this beard, shaved head. So I went to Europe looking like that, and I had no idea that people like this was Spain and Italy, but in England it was like people did not like the way I looked. Like I could like definitely tell that it was like problematic that I was that I was brown and stuff, and I had this beard, and I felt like the discomfort that people had with me. Again, like obviously, like I don't know how you guys are or anyone else is like about feeling discomfort in like public settings and stuff. I know I'm not unique in that sense. It's not a feeling that is just for me to have on my own. Um, so yeah, I mean, basically, I went. I was there for a month. It was super fun. Um, but I came back, and my program, this. Oh no, this isn't it. It's here. These guys, you'll see. So this is the Flyboard charters, and this is Maya Marina in Bayside. But this is where I did a ton of my yachting, and it was super cool and it was really simple, and it was at the time I didn't necessarily respect it. Um, I didn't really care. It was like one of those things. Like I definitely was still more like I had this problem, right? When people asked me what I did, I I would just say, "Oh yeah, we'll show this." This is like one of the cool parts about it. This is what made me feel cool, like girls twerking and the jet skis and stuff, and like this was me on um, a 52-foot Ferretti flybridge on the way back to the new dock. And then, we got kicked out of Maya Marina, and yeah, I mean, we had to move it. So the program got destroyed. And I came back home, and my flight from Spain with my mom was supposed to land in Miami, obviously, but for whatever reason, it didn't, which was super weird. And yeah, we landed in Orlando, and instead of waiting for the buses, I rented a car, obviously, because I have hundreds of like $100,000 in my bank account. So I'm like, okay, mom, we're just gonna rent a car. We're gonna drive back home. And again, part of like I know better, right? Like I know that I could have returned that car in Miami for a fee, and they let me rent the car with a suspended license. And And I went home with my mom. I drove home through the night, dropped her off, and then the next few days I would go back to Orlando. Um, I went back to Orlando, dropped off the car, and one thing or another, I kept going back to Orlando, renting these cars, and I went back home, and I flew there, and I tried to rent a car again to drive back home, but this time I was gonna, I was like, why am I being stupid? I'm gonna drop it off in Miami, and it'll be fine. Um, but then I then they were like, oh no, you have a suspended license, so that was the catalyst for what's up. No, not yet. Why?
Are you serious?
What?
What are you gonna tell you?
Oh, this?
Yeah.
I didn't leave.
Charged it?
No, this is the one I was using. This is a new
Is that
one.
the game one?
No, it's not the game one. I'm not an idiot. But whatever you had in your hand, do you want me to shine a light? No, it's right there.
Oh, it's clear and I don't have my contact.
Oh, right, because you ordered them. They haven't arrived
I'm so
yet.
mad because I got this and I thought it was different from the thing I already got.
But this is the same thing. It's so hot.
That's what's outside.
What is this?
Face cream
How do you use this?
on your face.
You just like put a little, then you use it. Is it good for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I paid $20 for that with my own money, so I'm mad. But I got some like crema from Costco and it's the same thing.
Are you not gonna be doing TikTok live?
No?
Why don't you do that?
Because I'm not old enough. And I don't have a fake.
Have you been crying? Or did you just wake up and your eyes are so puffy?
I've been watching movies and also have Vaseline. Because I put Vaseline on my eyelashes for 2 years.
Oh, I don't know if that works. But if TikTok said so,
It does.
I understand. What were you asking me? Oh, Happy Gilmore? Yeah.
So
In
I
a second.
think it's like
The best?
kind of better than the first. Bad Bunny's in it. Alex Earl's in it.
Yeah. That's right. I saw that Bad Bunny's the caddy.
It's so funny. I think it's kind of funnier than the others. You have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to.
You're gonna love it.
I'm gonna do some coding, and I'm gonna put it on.
You have to have the conversation.
Yeah, no, of course. Of course. What do I look like? A non-concentrator? Moom, are you hungry? Why? What the fuck? How? That's not fair. I didn't know. I put a stream marker so that I can cut that out. But yeah, I see, like those are some of my joys in life. Right, like her, like Muma, my niece. Like I like feel like I'm well liked, right? Like these people care about me. I try to help them out, but I let them down, and you know, just the same. But yeah. So me returning from Europe and doing this whole fiasco, renting a car 3 times and going back and forth to Orlando from Miami as an excuse to hang out with my friends and stuff. That was kind of the catalyst for me uh, needing to renew my license. They wouldn't give me the car, so I Ubered at 7 in the morning back to to downtown Orlando, and luckily I had a student ID, so for UCF. So like I went to the federal courthouse, or not the state courthouse, and I went through the trouble, paid my tickets and paid my tolls, and then I got a new license same day, and it was no big deal. And this was right. I didn't even have to take a new picture, unless I had long hair at the time. No, I didn't. I definitely had the shaved head. What am I saying? Yeah. So they gave me a new license. I went back to the airport after hanging out with my friend in downtown Orlando for like a little bit, getting some lunch, and then yeah, I went back to the airport and then took a car, I guess, because I guess I didn't want to wait till the night to take a plane or whatever. So I rented a car, used it for a couple days, I guess. I don't really remember again. So used it for a couple days and then yeah, returned it. No big deal. Uber back home, but no problem. Um, and yeah, that's the only reason I even had a license. So like, my insurance was like canceled at that point, or something or the other. I wanted to try to get cheaper insurance, but I couldn't because I'm a freaking idiot. And then, yeah, I was finally able to. I called the insurance, canceled the old one, put under the new one. I think it was like they had raised my rate, but then I brought it back down, and then I paid 6 months in advance, which I frequently do. And then, yeah, the next year, 2024, I mean, I really, really could have been yachting every single day. And let's check. You guys can check with me. So, 116 weeks, 2 years ago, 2023, still 2023. This is that Sea Ray. And then, yes, around this time, these were some of the last trips that we ever did. And then, yeah, now the boats are here. And I was occasionally driving, Aaron again. He got a new program, and I was occasionally driving this other boat. Um, but yeah, I mean, I really could have been 69 weeks ago. I mean, this was January 2024, and I really could have been yachting every single day. But around this time, like one of the boats that I had been in that program sank at the new dock that we had it at, and then yeah, I mean, I was here and there. Like this was like a boat that they had given me, basically. Like they're like, "Oh, can you drive this?" And it's like 108 foot VBG super yacht from Turkey. Like, and I don't even really, I can't find any information beyond like what the website says or what the title says about this boat. But it's a freaking gigantic monstrosity with like two giant MTUs, like um, straight shaft. Apparently, it's like a wooden boat inside or whatever. You can't see anything. But they wanted me to take over, and they wanted me to get, um, like a real captain's license, I could have, because I had all the sea time required to get a 100-ton U.S. Coast Guard captain's license, but I didn't. I was like, yeah, I'm still doing this and that and the other, and yeah, just around this time, as you can see, Cali coffee is part of the equation. So I have been fixing in coffee machines, super automatic coffee machines at this point, and I was like kind of like dedicated to doing it. And here and there I would take odd jobs, as you can see, like 47 weeks, 52 weeks, 35 weeks, 19 weeks. So 19 weeks ago, 35 weeks ago, this is kind of when my whole problem started. Um, yeah, man. I can pause it. That's really good. So 35 weeks ago, I freaking yeah, he can probably definitely do it. I was doing odd jobs here and there, but I was, spent almost 100% of my time working with my friend Cami, delivering freaking coffee bags and coffee supplies to this medium-sized chain of coffee stores. And again, I was meeting girls, and I was just like doing enough to just get by. But I was living at this new place in Fort Lauderdale, and trying to fix it up, but I never really did. It was like always a disaster. It was really difficult to do anything. Every so often, I'd accomplish a bunch of stuff, but then I would just do nothing. And yeah, I mean, I was yachting every so often, but mostly I was doing this coffee stuff. And man, it's really been so long since I've been doing that. Jesus. And yeah, I mean, like I was really wasting my time by that point, you know. Um, like a week I'd make maybe 700, maybe $1,000, but like again, I could have been yachting, making way more, and I don't know why I wasn't. I knew like of programs that I could be making a ton of money, but yeah, I just didn't feel like doing it anymore. And then I still had a bunch of money saved up. Um, and then my dad approached me with, like I had been helping him do this thing for a while, but then he said this like crazy thing about like the thing I had been helping him do, and ultimately it like ended up being kind of like, oh yeah, we can do this as a business. And I had been promising him that I was going to get a bunch of the paperwork done, um, to do it like at a larger scale and like do it as a business. Because right now it was like a hobby for him, but like at that point it was a hobby for him. But yeah, I was like, okay, let's figure this out. And I wasted a bunch of time not really doing it, and I could have done it at whichever point. Um, but yeah, that happened, and ultimately it fell apart, and it ended up with him being arrested January 25th of 2025. Um, and yeah, that's currently still happening. After that, I got pretty serious about like I had started to do. I decided like it was time. While that was before that arrest even happened, I was like, I got to change some things. So I decided to do a coding boot camp. Um, and then yeah, I mean, like after his arrest, I had a trip to Montreal planned a few days after. They detained me at the airport, took my phone, and I still, I was like, okay. I went to Montreal, and I was pretty scared about my situation, right? Because I didn't want anything to happen to me. But um, yeah, I guess I was still hopeful. Like, they let me go. They didn't arrest me. Um, so yeah, so I left and hung out with my friend Brian, and we went skiing, and it was a really great time. But I was very scared about my situation. So I was like, okay. I started to really like kind of buckle down in so many words. Like I finished the coding boot camp. It was really difficult, but it was one of the first things that like I realistically I have ever finished in my whole life. And I was very proud of myself. Um, and I personally think I'm like pretty good at programming now. I mean, like in the future, I'll show you guys, or myself, or whoever needs to be watching this or is watching this, whether this be just for me or not. But yeah, I mean, like I got really like so much better. Like everything started to make sense to the point where like now new technologies and stuff come out. Like I can really teach myself how to use it. Like, I have like the groundwork for how programming works in general. So like learning C plus and learning C# and learning, you know, something complicated like blueprints for Unreal Engine 5 or like learning Python. It's not really complicated anymore because like it's more or less like the same thing. Just like I need to Google like how the syntax and stuff like that works, and there's a ton of plugins and stuff that make it pretty easy for me to like not really make mistakes. And more or less like I know what to do. So I took it really seriously, and then that finished, and then I started yachting again because I needed to make some money because yeah, that whole business thing with my dad that we decided that was a good idea to do, it ultimately left me with $0 in my bank account. And yeah, I mean, and now like my yachting kind of gets more consistent. So this is a whole different vessel. A whole like a week later, this is I think a 46-foot azimuth, and then this is a 42-foot 2024 D'Antonio. Um, Really cool boat. I hated it at first, but the more I got comfortable with it, the more I liked it. Um, and then I don't even know what boat this is. This might be in the Bahamas. The D'Antonio. You know, on Bill Gates' old yacht. I forget what it's called. Oh no, no, no way. Wayfinder maybe. But we were teaching them like flyboarding classes, the crew, so that they can be certified to be instructors and stuff. Um, and then yeah, they actually still owe me for this day. It was a full 12 hours of being on the water. Um, they owe me like 1,000 something bucks for that day, but yeah. So after this, I did my decided like okay, I'm gonna take this seriously, right? So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a real captain. I went to captain school. I did my 100-ton course. Um, I really should have like immediately done my first aid and stuff so I can like apply instantly to get the license. But whatever, I waited a little bit, and then like ultimately like I think in June I ended up doing my first aid course from all the way from May or April whenever I did my captain's course. Um, I got my tow certification. I got my marine radio operators permit and stuff, and it was very, very, very fun. And I started to take the yachting stuff really seriously, watching content, trying to fix some mistakes that I was making um, in this stint. Like I was pretty good at boat handling, but docking obviously is always difficult. And like this really cool thing I learned at this time was um, if you're docking with like a following current somewhere, um, putting your stern into the current or the wind or whatever it may be, depending on like what vessel you're running. Um, Obviously, like if you're in a fly bridge with like a canvas top and it's catching a ton of wind, and the wind is from a particular direction and there's not a lot of current, you put your stern into the wind instead of the current. Um, you kind of pick and choose your battles, but yeah. So you put your stern into the wind, and then when you swing the bow around, when you're backing into the slip, your momentum of the bow is fighting against the current, and it slows itself down, and then you can just back the boat in, and like in one clean motion. And it was a game changer for me. I didn't really get to use it that often because the next thing in my life happened, and yeah, I again yachting as much as I could, and then I stopped getting jobs on the water, and then I was considering, moving to Texas or moving to Alaska to make like feel comfortable finally, because I had been living like paycheck to paycheck for the last few months, and my rent was really expensive, and my car with my insurance is like, I don't know, like $800 a month. So like $3,400 in just like straight bills is like insane. And like my spending habits, I'm super responsible with, and I spend at like a rate that's way higher than my like ability to maintain that. And effectively, I was just living way above my means. So like, and I had been doing that for a long time, but it was okay because I had so much money saved. And then now with no money saved, it was much more difficult to live that way. So I was gonna make this transition, and leave, and and then I didn't do anything for like a month straight, basically. Like I then decided like I'm just gonna be crew on a really big boat here for the time being until I apply and get my position. And I had been working on this 102-foot azimuth as a one of the deckhands. Again, doing bareboat charters, and it was really fun. And it was like the first time career-wise that I felt like I was doing the right thing. Like I was trying to pay my dues instead of like skip all these steps. Um, but yeah, I had made a little bit of money enough to cover my bills, and I felt okay. And then Monday, June 23rd, um, I was arrested. Um, the charges are public. If you can, figure out my name, you'll see what the charges are for, and that's an ongoing case. And like, obviously, like, I won't go into the specifics of it, but after that, I spent 16 days in a federal detention center, um, which, like, me for myself was okay. I felt bad that I had let down the crew of that boat I had just started working on, because I didn't get to let them know. I had actually, in fact, just told them that I wasn't, that I was gonna definitely 100% be there the Saturday coming up. And then, yeah, I had told them that. I felt bad I was letting them down. I felt bad that at that point, I had told my landlord, like, hey, I'm moving out for sure. I was very naive at the time, thinking that like I might get a different apartment somewhere in Fort Lauderdale, thinking that this would never happen to me. Um, but yeah, there's a bunch of federal agents outside and police officers. my house, and I spent 16 days in the federal detention center. And I got robbed a bunch of times. I think by my landlord. Um, I don't know how much I can say about it because I assume that that will inevitably be its own small claims court case of some kind. But yeah, I don't know. At this point, I guess I'm just speculating. So I mean, like once it's settled, I guess I can talk about it. Even though like I feel like I probably shouldn't. And yeah, I was arrested, and now you know, um, my sister and my brother and everyone they bailed me out, and now I'm waiting to go through the paces, go through the pre-trial stuff, and see what we can do. I mean, I didn't have any money, so I was appointed um, an attorney by the U.S. government. But my father's also has a court-appointed attorney, so my attorney is on the exploratory wheel. And I think I got lucky. I'm very comfortable with like the experience my attorney has, and he's very comfortable with this particular case. So like, hopefully, it all goes well. But yeah, now we're at present day. In the last month, I've more or less tried to finish this room. I got a new drill. I started hanging stuff up. I like organized a little bit here and there, but the last few weeks have been a bit rough for me. I've woken up super late. I haven't really accomplished anything. Um, I'm working on this really cool project that I won't speak on until I have like a prototype and stuff like that. But it is um, software related, and we're all looking at this situation of now I'm on house arrest. I'm stuck here. We're all looking at this situation like it's the best thing that could have happened because now I'm forced instead of like pursuing a career in yachting. I'm forced to be creative and pursue something in software that's much more scalable. Um, it makes more sense for me personally. Like it's something I've always wanted to do, but now I'm forced to do it. And like I feel like with anything, you always have to look at things like with the glass half full. But um, yeah, man, I'm like so far away from where I thought I'd be at this point. Would I change anything? I don't even know at this point. Um, like, yeah, like I wish I was at this mature about and lucid about the way that I am and the way that things are. Like, I had such an ego about being the smart kid, like so long, like for such a long time, and it ultimately like made me incapable of like accepting help and like telling my family that I just needed some assistance to fucking finish college. And like how different would things be, like I feel regardless like I would have made the correct decisions. um I might have even still wanted to go back to school, but like this time as a second degree seeking student instead of like trying to do something else, like I probably would have still fallen into software. And yeah, I mean, it just like I'm gonna make this work. I am. I like it's gonna be good. I'm gonna make the best of the situation. If I do have if I do end up getting sentenced to any sort of time, um, like in context, I'm still young. I'm still 28 years old. So I get out. I still have a future ahead of me. Um, albeit it looks a lot different um, than I anticipated, but ultimately it is what it is. But yeah, so that's just the intro to like why and what this is. I mean, this is called Captain's Log because the title Captain is something that I don't know, it makes me feel respected. It's something I've always craved to feel that way. Um, you know, the same thing with calling myself an engineer and stuff like that. Like, I think like things like that is like just like it's different circumstances like that. It's just always something that we like want, you know, if we want to feel wanted or whatever. So yeah, so this series was supposed to be me going through and like how to do like pre-trip checks and like how to set up a plan of action, like depending on like what you're doing, and like it's going to be a lot of nautical and yachting related things, and I was going to steal a bunch of other people's content, but just do it with the backdrop of Miami. Um, but that's gone, you know, that's like not possible anymore. So this is my new captain's chair. This is my new office. This is the room that I have at my sister's house. I've gotten rid of the bed, you know, in an effort to make this place like kind of more palatable to be in. My dog is super stinky, so I getting rid of the bed is very helpful for that, you know, because he doesn't he doesn't make the situation any easier to get people to hang out with me. So there's a couch, and people can sit down and watch movies and stuff. And like ultimately, like I want this room to be usable after I'm gone, whether that be on vacation or working or in the custody of the Federal Bureau of Prisons or what have you. Um, but regardless, I will try to make the best of the situation. Um, and yeah, I mean, what you can expect following from this series is building a gym, I guess. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'll put like a more produced video out describing what's coming, and it's like I'll post it private or not, or as a short, or I don't know. I mean, like YouTube is always something I've wanted to do, so I have nothing better to do than to actually do it, and you know, doing it as live stream is like not a terrible idea, because you know now I don't have to use my own storage, so it's fine. It's no big deal. Um, and yeah, so every little step I take, I'll check back in. Maybe I'll check back in weekly or daily, or I don't know. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I'll be making a game with my friends. I'm excited to uh, get that to happen. The project I'm working on personally, um, it involves Unreal Engine 5 as well, but I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, you know, now I'm gonna get to building some apps. I'm gonna play like a game of Marvel Rivals real quick. Get frustrated with it inevitably, and then I'm gonna get to coding. I'm gonna probably shuffle between a few different websites that I should be making. Um, I'm gonna make my mom's website for her travel company. Um, I'm gonna figure out how the Amazon AP, like Amazon Pay API works, or maybe the Google Pay API, and get that sorted, so that I can, um, you know, implement like it's a good skill to know to like how to work with certain APIs and stuff. So, and it's required for her business. So I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna probably start working on how to like build software for the App Store and the Google Play Store too. Um, I haven't really looked into it, but I'm gonna guess that it's just hosted like different. I don't know. I couldn't even begin to say like what it's like, but I assume that it's just going to be a React app, and it's the same as hosting it on a website, except it's just local, and it's all fully integrated. I'm going to look into the optimization of stuff because I assume that it'll work better because it's all hosted locally on your phone. Um, like since you download the whole thing anyways, and it's effectively requires minimal content from data. But I'll see. I'll see. I'll probably do a separate live stream describing that. Keeping as much of these like as separate as possible. And yeah, gonna probably buy like some subscribers as well, so that I can do chapters. But yeah, we'll see. Obviously, always planning for the future, always excited for my ideas and stuff. But this particular situation is a little fucked up with my legal stuff. But we will make the best of it, and yeah, I'll try to document it as much as I can. I mean, this particular, um, however long this has been, this hour and a half of just me talking, it would have been a journal entry in my journal written, but it's so boring to do that sort of stuff. Oh yeah, and yeah, maybe I'll get back into reading. While I was in prison, I read 12 books, one of them being The Last Lord of the Rings. And yeah, the way Tolkien wrote it, he put it like a summary of the last books and The Hobbit and stuff in in the book, so I was able to get a really good idea. And obviously, like I know the stories of more or less how it goes. Um, so it was really exciting. I mean, like it's the longest book I've ever actually read. I say that I've read a lot of books, but a lot of them have been audiobooks and yeah. So right now, my current goal is to read Noam Chomsky, Hegemony or Survival. Um, I read a sentence to my friends as a joke the other day, but maybe after that game of Marvel Rivals and maybe after some coding, maybe I'll get bored. I'll read a chapter. Now that I've developed a skill for reading, I was able to in 16 days read 12 books, and I'm fairly proud of that. But realistically, I had nothing better to do. It was so. That's what people don't tell you about being like injured or in jail or something in some dire situation. Like I can imagine being a prisoner of war. Like as messed up as it is, it's like not really a big deal if you can have water. Um, it doesn't really matter. Like the issue, unless you're getting tortured or something, which like I don't know. I don't know what that would be like. I have a pretty high tolerance for pain, but maybe that would suck. But what they don't tell you is how boring it is to be not able to do anything, and how like miserable it is to like know that you could be doing something else, like something more, something like you don't even think about like, oh man, like I'd like to hang out with my friends or stuff. It's like it's like naturally you want to see the people that you miss, but like you want to be doing something productive. You're like, this is such a waste of time. It felt good to be able to read books. I mean, I felt productive. I was like, at least I'm keeping my mind sharp. I'm keeping myself fresh. I like was able to learn some more words, and it's like be a little bit more used to storytelling, because like I've yeah, like I've seen it more, so like at least I was able to do that. But yeah, yeah. So we'll make the best of the situation. If anyone ever sees this, thank you, I guess. If it's just me, thank you as well for trying. And yeah. Oh, one last remark I will say, like, so I'm pretty high ranked in Marvel Rivals and Overwatch and stuff like that. And it's actually like one of the reasons why I'm able to take responsibility for my own actions, because you one of the some of the like the best way to rank up besides being mechanically gifted is taking responsibility for your own actions, and like seeing how you can improve and stuff like that. Um, and it like that along with like understanding and seeing the concept of space, um, and like weird nebulous terms like that, like that are very applicable to specifically that game. You realize how applicable they are to like other facets of your life, right? Like there's like a creator called Awkward, which that's like a lot of what he preaches. But I mean, effectively everyone that does educational Overwatch and Marvel Rivals content says the same thing in different ways. Um, some people get confused about like what you should and shouldn't be doing, like hero specific, but like in general, all the things are the same, right? Like you want to be applying pressure, so that they can make mistakes and stuff like that, and it works the same whether that be a conversation or things like that. Like you need someone to say something, you need to allow them the space, like as nebulous as like convoluted as like that particular set of statements is, like to say what they need to say. Or like you're playing sports. In sports it's way more applicable because like you need to attack the empty space and you need to yeah things like that. Like it works much the same. Trying to get a job, you need to be applying pressure and like constantly doing what you should be doing. It works the same with training for coding or like boating and stuff like that. Like damage, damage, damage is what Awkward says, but like that is being proactive. I guess is the moral of the story. Being proactive and like being considerate of what other people can do for you and to you, and relying on mostly yourself besides other people. So that's what I'll leave this with. I'll mark it so that I can add chapters eventually. But thank you to myself, thank you to my family, and yeah, I'll see you guys.